No one chooses addiction. It's a complex health condition. And when people have other health conditions, we show up. We help out. Addiction is no different. Make the connection, have the conversation, stop the stigma.
Kevin Bieksa tonight at Rogers Arena, his one-day retirement contract with the Vancouver Canucks, where he played the most of his National Hockey League games, and he played a lot of them with our next guest. It's our pleasure to welcome back to Sekeres and Price from up in Smithers, British Columbia, former Canuck Mr. Dan Hamhuis. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me back on the show, guys.
Yeah, you're more welcome. Thank you for making time for us and making time for your old defense partner. Tell us, give us the story about when you two first got together and formed a duo with the Canucks.
Yeah, that would be during that 2010-11 season, which is pretty in the forefront of a lot of Canucks fans' minds, I should say, as it was a real highlight, certainly in the last decade and a half of Canucks hockey, I think, for everyone, and certainly was one of the highlights of my career that year. We made the run to the Stanley Cup Finals, and yeah, Kevin and I, we started playing together as D partners probably fairly early in the season, and it was a good match. I think we complemented each other pretty well early on, and ended up being a pretty solid duo through that playoff run.
So often, pairings lines are in blenders with coaches because they're so desperate to figure it out. When did you realize, this might work, this might last here, and why was that?
I don't know if there was ever a point where where that was a moment in time that happened. I think it maybe evolved. As injuries happen, it was a phase of Canucks hockey where there was a lot of injuries to the defense back then, and so our lineup was kind of... Well,
Sammy was on the defense, right? Anytime you got Sammy Salo, you got injuries, right?
Oh, that's cold.
Well, I was out a lot that year too, actually, and so Keith Ballard was out, so we were kind of shuffling and rolling, and I don't think Kevin and I, really probably locked in that defensive pair till later in the year. We experimented a little bit early on, and then it was probably later on, and certainly in that playoff run where we didn't really play with anyone else. It was just kind of the two of us in a semi-shutdown, semi-offense. We kind of were pretty versatile, I think, our partnership, and that's why I think it worked well. Coach liked us because we kind of had that ability to play in all situations.
You were, and you were both physical too, in different ways. Like you're right. You guys both brought sort of everything to the table, but in different ways. You, of course, notable with your hip checks all the time and cutting guys off that way. Kevin Moore, a guy you don't want to meet in the corner during a scrum sort of thing. It just seemed to work, and you both seemed to know when one guy would do X, the other guy does Y. There was an understanding there.
Yeah, it's funny how those things kind of evolve into each other. I mean, I think early on anytime you have a new defense partner, you have to talk a lot. You talk a lot on the ice, you talk a lot off the ice, between shifts, between periods, at practice, and try to get an understanding of why you're doing certain things, what you want, what you need. And then over time that's kind of starts to go away, and you just start to read off each other, and it becomes more of a feel. And I think that's where Kevin and I started to go later in that playoff run for sure, is that we read off each other really well, and I think our games, they complement. We both skated well, we moved up the ice. Kevin probably a little more offensive than I was, but I had my chance to jump up too, and he was just fine to cover me up. And then like you said, the physical side of our game was there too. Mine was probably more on the hitting side, and Kevin was a guy, as you mentioned, didn't want to meet in the corners and probably not at center ice squaring off, trying to dodge a Superman punch.
Yeah,
that's right.
Boy, I chuckled when you said you talk a lot as a defense pair, because the one thing Kevin could do is talk. And in fact, the one thing Kevin continues to do is talk, and gets remunerated for it from Hockey Night in Canada. He talked a lot to us in the room over the years, and the ISO camera got on him during games. You saw him talking a whole lot. Where does he rank, Dan, amongst the most chatty guys you've played with?
Well, I mean, he's right up there for sure. I mean, I don't know if it's chatty or if he just he had a way with words, and he used them so well to kind of police the other team and even police our team in our dressing room. If a guy showed up one day in a funny looking suit, you weren't getting by walking through the dressing room without Kevin throwing in a really funny chirp that made everyone else laugh, made the guy that was wearing the suit laugh, and also sent the message that the guy will not be wearing that suit again. He had that incredible talent of the delivery and the words. I also enjoyed him chirping the media when they would come in, and if some of the media wasn't dressed up to standard, he had no problem ripping into them too. And there's always a lot of good chuckles when he was around. But at the same time, it was purposeful. He delivered a message, and that's why I think he was one of everybody's most liked teammates, and also a guy that's probably most disliked by guys that have not played him, because he was annoying on the ice with his comments. But the thing is, Kevin could also back it up.
Were you on the bench for the Vern Fiddler impersonation?
Yes, I was. I think that was in Dallas when
yes.
when Vern was doing that, and I got to play with Vern too. He's another character. He's another one of those guys that he'd be right up there with Kevin.
But that seemed to tickle the funny bone. It's like he nailed that pretty bit. Like he couldn't hold it back, and everybody knew that's pretty good. Kevin Bieksa.
No, AV had a pretty good chuckle with that one.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, wishes, your words for Kevin here as he takes a final bow before the Canucks public at Rogers Arena?
Sorry, what was this first part of that question, Matt? Just missed you.
Said, just what are your thoughts and words here for your old defense partner as he takes his final bow before the Canuck Nation at Rogers Arena?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's pretty cool that he wanted to come back. I know how much the city and team meant to him when we played here together. There's a lot of responsibility representing the Canuck logo, the city, the province when you do, and he did a great job of that, and he was so well liked here by the fans in the province, and so it's neat to see that he wanted to come back, and I hope it's a great night for him, and certainly deserves it.
When are we going to see you next in the Lower Mainland? Are you coming for the game, or are we going to see you soon?
I'm actually going to be there right after the game. I'll be there on Saturday's game. I have a meeting down there for some school board stuff, and just so happens the Predators and the Canucks are playing on Saturday night. So
how about that?
Gonna watch, yeah. So a couple former teams and a lot of friends playing out there. Should be fun.
Mm-hmm. We'll tell people to people to wave up into the Raptors and say hi to you.
Well, you enjoy it. Yeah. This is school board trustee Dan Hamhuis from the Smithers School Board is coming on down to see us. Great catching up, Dan. Nice seeing you. Nice hearing your voice again. Appreciate this. Safe travels, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.